Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to today's edition of Intuitive Angling, and really appreciate you guys making some time out of your day to spend with me and check the video out. Always very grateful for that. Guys, today we're going to be talking about the shad spawn, and the emphasis of today's video is I'm going to explain to you guys why this is one of the most overrated ways to catch fish that I have ever seen in my life. You hear a lot of people talking about it, and it's not all hyped up what it's made out to be. So we're going to get into that in today's video, and I'm going to give you guys some tips and advice on it because we're coming up on shad spawn season just right around the corner here. Also guys, just a quick reminder, just wanted to let everybody know that Tackle Warehouse has got a bunch of really good sales right now. They got a bunch of sales on rod and reels. If you guys are interested in checking that out, I'll put my Tackle Warehouse link in the description. And if you guys use that link I put in there, that's a great way to support the channel, because anytime you purchase something there, the channel gets a small percentage of a commission off of that sale. So if you guys like the content here on Intuitive Angling and you feel like you want to give back for exchange of that content, that's the best way you can do it. So I'll put that link in the description. Much appreciated. Okay guys, if everybody out there, anyone out there follows tournament fishing much, when they talk about tournament fishing this time of year, specifically like in late April, May, early part of June, you hear the pros talking about, oh, I got on this shad spawn bite, and the shad spawn bite was the deal, and I caught a limit 20 fish off the shad spawn this, shad spawn that. Guys, I'm gonna tell you right now, don't get caught up in the hype, because fishing for the shad spawn, or fishing, trying to catch fish in and around the shad spawn or when the shad are spawning, is the most haphazard, random, overrated way to catch fish that you can possibly do it. Because here's a scenario on it. Now, if you're not familiar with it, threadfin and gizzard shad, for the most part, they're gonna start spawning after the bass start spawning. So, like in my part of the country here in Missouri, it's like a lot of the times the shad start spawning for the first time in May, and they'll spawn, throughout the year, but there's a major shad spawn usually about, couple, 2 or 3 weeks after the bass get done spawning. And if you've never seen shad spawn before, what they do is you'll pull up to a piece of cover like a rock bank or end of a dock or something, and you'll see just a bunch of little shad breaking the surface and flickering like that. And they're spawning against usually some type of a hard object. Now, the places that shad spawn on, for the most part, are riprap banks are really good areas. If you have a riprap bank in a cove, like between boat docks or something, perfect area for a shad spawn. Shad love to spawn on the corner of docks. So if you guys are fishing around boat docks, pay attention. You'll see shad flickering on the end of those docks. They'll spawn around lay down trees. They're same deal. You see them flickering on the surface around any type of hard object. They can be anywhere. It just really depends on or on grass, if you have grass in the lake you're fishing. So it really depends on the type of cover that you're fishing. Now, the scenario for this is a lot of times, and there is a time where if you happen to just hit it perfectly, you can load the boat. But when these shad are spawning, sometimes the bass are up there just feeding on them big time. And most of the time the shad will spawn fairly early in the morning. So this window of catching fish when the bass are feeding on these shad is usually a small window. It's usually from daylight, just 2 or 3 hours after the daylight, and then it's over for the day. Now, the thing about fishing for the shad spawn is you can't go out and pattern it, because a lot of these pros you hear, they talk about like that's just the deal, you got to get the shad spawn. But 95% of the time when the shad are spawning, there's no fish there, and you don't really know where the shad are going to spawn at. That's the whole thing about it. It's like if somebody says, okay, the shad are spawning on the lake, your favorite lake, and you go out there and you got to fish this shad spawn. First of all, you don't have any idea where these shad are even going to be spawning. So you just have to get into the areas where you think they could be spawning, like the same type of areas the bass are in, and just burn the bank and go down the bank looking to see if you can see a shad spawn. And a lot of times you can't ever find them. And once in a while you may come up on them and you may see one, but most of the time there's no fish there. I'm going to guess that out of all the shad that I've seen spawning over the course of my fishing for 50 years in the springtime of the year, I bet probably, less than 10 or 15% of the shad spawns that I've seen occurring actually have bass feeding on them where you can catch them. 80, 90% of the time, they're just spawning and there's no bass around them. So point of the matter is when you hear this whole thing about the shad spawn and pros catching them on shad spawn, don't feel like that you're, inadequate if it doesn't work for you, because it doesn't work for most people. The whole thing about it is like if you happen to be at the right place at the right time, and you happen to pull up on a bank where you see some shad spawn and you see some bass breaking the surface hitting them, you're going to catch some fish because they're easy to catch. Probably the best lure to catch them during the shad spawn is just like a little 3/8 ounce white and chartreuse spinnerbait, just small blades, fishing that spinnerbait up shallow. They'll hit about anything: crankbait, spinnerbait, chatterbait, popper, anything like that. They're easy to catch when they're feeding, but that window when that happens is it's so random and haphazard, you can't, pattern it at all. So point of the video I want to make is like, don't feel like you have to incorporate this in your game plan, because it's next to impossible to get to work most of the time. If you see it happening, yeah, take advantage of it because it's a great way to catch fish. But like I said, most of the time it just does not work that great, and there's a small amount of anglers that actually capitalize on it. Even the tournaments where you see some of these guys that say, "Oh, I got on them on the shad spawn today, and I caught 20 fish the first 15 minutes." But 90% of the other guys in the tournament didn't even ever see a shad, getting busted by a bass. So most overrated technique, in my opinion, the most overrated pattern, the most overhyped way to catch bass, the most over-exaggerated in bass fishing. Just wanted to share that with you guys. So hope you all well. We'll talk later.